Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and with me today is Shor Denny, Tamika Carter, and Joyce Clarke, and together we are TIPS IE,
Whoop, whoop.
Trauma Informed Prevention Services of the Inland Empire. And here in the Inland Empire, we are under a stay-at-home order.
Again.
The world gets crazier.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that as the backdrop, what exactly does an inland empire stay-at-home order look like? Joyce, can you give us some insight as to what the officials say about it?
Sure. And thank you, Glenn. Always a pleasure to be here with you on these very informative podcasts. The surge is what is alarming California. That's how it starts off. It says the regional stay home order announced December 3rd, which is today, will prohibit gatherings of any size, close operations except for critical infrastructure and retail, meaning hospitals and supermarkets, and require 100% masking and physical distancing. That means there's no more choice. You have to wear a mask. And then you can, and that's the end of the order, but then it goes further saying that you can look up your particular sector, religious, hair salon, so forth, to see what tier they are in. So that's the stay-at-home order. 100% mask, 100% distancing, infrastructure and retail, which talks about your hospitals, your police, firemen, and your retail people, supermarkets.
And salons. Yeah.
Right. And right.
Salons.
Those are the exceptions, except for the infrastructure and retail, your civil servants and your supermarkets. But gatherings of any size, no longer even being outside. You remember they put the gyms outside, the hair outside, dining outside. Everything is closed and shut down.
I thought churches could be out.
No, that's gone now. That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. And as you well know, every day the governor has come on with a warning, always the yellow light. He's been waving the yellow light. And I said, we're going to hit this stop sign very soon, because Thanksgiving has been his forecasting of a surge that's going to quadruple around Christmas time. This not only leads to anxiety, but a level of trauma for people who have had it. And so, Glenn, back to you.
So what we have here is not just a problem in terms of the virus continuing to expand, but we have a problem with people's perception of it. It's harder and harder to escape the implications and ramifications of the virus.
That's right.
6 months ago, it didn't bother me, or no one in my family's really been affected. It was always them. And now we look and it is us. From a mental health perspective, how does that weight really impact people on a day-to-day basis? Tamika, I'm gonna throw that one at you. I mean, how do you cope?
So what that really is like complex trauma. So you've got kind of a mix of what we call adjustment disorder. So adjustment disorder is diagnosed when any significant change in your life has affected change and basically made you more anxious. It might be anxiety with depression. It might be anxiety in conduct. But ultimately it's an adjustment disorder. It's a mild anxiety disorder. And so when that continues past 6 months that you're, kind of trying to recover from that one thing, then we go on and we, might diagnose it with something else like generalized anxiety disorder or something else. But what we're having here is complex trauma. So we're having this re-triggering and this readjusting and this readjusting. And so I'm sure like insurance panels are sick of us right now as clinicians, because they're like, they still have adjustment disorder. Well, yeah, because it went this way and then it went that way. And then they open and then they close. And so, with every closing, there's a new onslaught of referrals that I get, a lot of my colleagues are getting, that have to do with like letting their hopes being shot, right? Like they got discouraged. They were moving. They felt like they were climbing their way out of this. They were maybe getting better financially. And then the rug is pulled from beneath their feet again. So it just really creates this constant situation where it's like a constant trigger and a heightened mood or whatever of anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anxiety is getting more intense. It's coming from more and more different directions, literally, you know. And then we talk about what that means to the individual. Shor, I want to defer to you on this one. What does this mean for how common folk interact? I mean, it's the holiday seasons, for goodness sake.
It means chaos. It means aggression. I was talking with someone earlier today, and we were talking about the physical and the emotional manifestations of trauma and stress. And look at what's going on in the streets. We've been pent up for a long time, and I'm talking about the fatigue of what we've already gone through, right? And people want out, right? I'm one of them. We want out. Now, when I say that, I'm saying it because, and I'm saying that way because I want you to feel the energy that's going along with that. So then when we get out, right, we're all doing this out there together. And that is where we're seeing the clashes, right? People are fighting, people are shooting each other, people are doing things right now. And it's a reaction to something that is fundamentally trauma driven, which is fight or flight. We are all in a fight or flight moment. And some of us are flying away, and those are the ones that are doing this, right? They have stayed in their house. They order everything. They have not walked out the door since COVID happened. Those are flighters. Then we have the fighters, and the fighters are the ones that are out there going, I ain't wearing no mask. You're infringing on my right? So we have it. And what the problem is that the people don't realize that they are reacting. These aren't their original thoughts. They're literally reacting to the adrenaline, and they're reacting to depression, and they're reacting to anxiety without understanding it. And then they walk out the door, something happens, and they flip. Yeah. So to me, the thing that we have to understand here is, yes, we've got these things that are going on, but every day, each individual must take self-care. We must take care of our emotional state independently, all day long, every day now. So that's what needs to be the new words of how we individually deal with this, is that we need to know that when we go out the door, somebody is going to be in an aggressive state, right? They're going to be in they're in a depressed state. You see that walking by people. You can kind of see these things. And what you got to do is understand that that is what's happening. If someone pops off at you, you have the state of mind to go, whoa, I'm going to breathe. Ooh, they're tripping. I'm going to take a breath because I don't want to react as they are, right? But if we react to react and reacting, we're going to have riots in the street, especially with the anxiety and the fear of having to go back into some type of quarantine.
I mean, if you start really looking at the anxiety that you're talking about, that escalating tension that's inherent with these restrictions, you do have fight or flight, but we're not talking about fists. We're not talking about just running. We're talking about reckless behavior. Fires have picked up again. I mean, if we didn't burn enough of it over the summer, fires are back.
Yeah.
What does that mean to us, again, as a community? And I put this out to the body. As a community, we're burning again.
Man, they said when did he do it, Joyce? The mayor, the governor just put out his stay-at-home order. I have called the massage parlor. I have made an appointment for my nails within the next 2 days. I mean, we've got to get things in order. We're getting ready to lose our privileges again.
That's
I
right.
mean, either
That's
we
right.
It's time to go toilet paper shopping.
Get the toilet
You're
paper.
saying all the frantic people are out now.
Yeah.
All the frivolous spending.
Those people who watched the governor on November 19th begin to talk about Thanksgiving. Remember, he said, only gather with your household, no strangers, or else gather outside. And the other pieces he said, no, actually it was the physician in Los Angeles County, the lady, where she said, don't use regular plates, use paper plates and plastic cutlery. If you're, don't do it buffet style, have one person serve with gloves on if you've got to have strangers in your home. So these are precautions, but people, they say, you know, I am tired of these rules and regulations. I have got to be thankful for something on Thanksgiving, even if it's getting out of this lockdown prison for 2 hours. So they throw caution to the wind. And I liken it to people being locked up in jail saying, I've been to jail. It was only in my community, but I sure don't want to go to Attica or Chino or a real prison because this jail piece is killing me. And that's how people feel who really have a higher level of anxiety. And I'm going to echo Shor, really don't realize how trauma affected they are.
Right.
But Thanksgiving was the test. And I think because it was just one day, that worked out. But then what the governor saw and kept reporting on, people started Black Friday shopping anyway, even though he asked retailers to have Black Friday online every week or every couple of days so that people would not use one day. Walmart didn't hear that. Best Buy didn't hear that. Target didn't hear that. And the malls who have been closed, those indoor malls who have been closed for so long, they said, I really don't care. We have got to get money to pay rent.
I think that's what I've been hearing a lot of, just people like getting to that point of hopelessness. You know, you said it's like death. And I think a lot of people are almost equating this to like death, and they're saying, you know, I'm ready to just risk it all. I'll go out, I'll do this. You know, I went out to watch the fight this past weekend ago, and I was in a place and I was surprised because even though far distance apart, there were tables indoors, and I was going, you know, expecting to sit outdoors. And by the time it got late, the bar had populated with so many folks that I put my mask on inside just because I'm like, they're not really thinking about this. And so I'm sure, you know, a lot of people there probably went home with something. But I think that a lot of people are just getting there. And I've even heard, you know, even sometimes local cities or law enforcement are saying, we can't continue to invest the resources to enforce these stipulations or these standards. So yeah, great. We want everyone to wear a mask, but we can't send an extra officer by the park 5 times a day to make sure people are not congregating. And so it's kind of, in some ways, I hate to say, it feels like it's falling apart at the seams, but it just relies on us as individuals to make better individual choices, to be more empathic about those of us who have weakened or compromised immune systems or those types of things. And I think it's almost like we went in and we tried to do the compassion and the empathy thing and the kindness thing, then we didn't quite get it right. And so now we're getting another chance to like show we care about our brothers and sisters out here in the world. You know, maybe you've got health insurance, maybe the guy next door doesn't. And so we I think it's really just kind of I hate to say, it's like a do-over, you know, it's a do-over. Or can we get this right? Can we get this?
You didn't get it right the first time. This is not a do-over. This is, you didn't get it right the first time. You got a 55 on that exam. Now let me give you the right answers and see if you can get at least a 98.
Come on, y'all. I mean, there are some factors that we had no control over that have put this over the top, right?
That's right.
We had a president that did super spreader events. Now, I mean, tens of thousands of people gathering without masks, no, you know, distancing, nothing, continuously, right? I believe there right now are going to be 25 Christmas parties at the White House in December, right? So no masks. So my point for that is, like in Iowa, in Idaho, in Wyoming, these places that may never have had coronavirus, our government had, by, you know, thank you, Uncle Sam, they now have their hospitals being overrun like ours are now, right? So and then that was one factor. Another factor is testing, because at the beginning of all of this, there was no test. And then nobody took the test, but now people are. I've taken the test twice. So now those numbers, even though the negatives are going up, of course, the positives are going to go up too, because more people are testing, not that they're in the hospital, or that they're testing. And then my third point of how we can't control this, or what has happened, is behaviors. We ourselves, this is all behavioral, right? If every single person at the beginning, again, we talk about a lack of funding, that has stopped our behaviors, because if the government had funded us, we would all be home eating pretzels, not caring, right? The essential workers would be the only ones out there with their masks on, and we'd all be getting through this, and we'd have probably already been done. But we all every day had to worry about our rent. We all every day had to worry about how we were going to feed our families. And that has made us have to choose behaviors that are not safe, that are risky, and have put us into these situations now.
You know, but see, that's where the anxiety came in initially. In March, my girlfriend, she read me an email maybe about 3 months ago. She says, Joyce, I want to read you this email that my boss sent around to all of us when we had to shut down in March. It said, we have to close the office because there's this coronavirus and we may be closed for about a week or two. Because that's what people thought. We are an instant gratification society. Okay, we got a virus, no big deal. Somebody up there take care of it. If you know we have it, take care of it, because I have an appointment next week to get my nails done. I'm going to a birthday party. I'm driving somewhere. Vegas is calling me. I got a convention. And this was the first inkling of heightened anxiety for people when they had to live with their children and their intergenerational household for the first time for 24/7. And I'm going to echo Tamika, and there wasn't enough toilet paper. That's what people faced in March. I went to the grocery store when he said lockdown. I went to the grocery store, and I was so naive at the time. I said, oh, I probably need to get some more fresh fish and some string beans and the things that I like to eat. And I am seeing people, dad's got a shopping basket full of water, toilet paper, paper towels. Mom's got a shopping basket full of every meat imaginable, cans of food. And the kids have cereal and snacks and chips in their cart. I was amazed of the run, and it frightened me. But I finally began to understand. Lockdown was more than 2 weeks. All of us, we've had 9 months to birth this baby, and it still ain't come out. It still has not come out. And if I may continue, I wanted to look at a population who is having their silent trauma, and that's aged senior citizens. I'm a senior, so I live in this senior complex. I have watched people that were more spry and energetic. They took the yoga class, the water aerobics class. We had potlucks in the community room. I have watched them go into dementia to some of them not even be able to put together a coherent sentence.
Wow.
I take care of my neighbor downstairs because her family, her daughter is here, but her daughter can't come every day because her daughter has asthma, a grown daughter. Mm-hmm. This lady will tell me the same thing at least 15 times in a week. She will say, last year, my son, he got caught in one of the fires, but it wasn't last year. It was 3 years ago. Okay, so the seniors are really falling apart because they have no association, no socialization with not only their own kind, their own age level, but daughter can't come over, grandchildren can't come over. All of that is happening. I've watched people's footsteps get slower and slower and more dementia set in. So this COVID is a true silent killer of those seniors who were well.
The county of Riverside did some studies, and they found that, of course, it's spiking very high. Age 69 and above, suicides have spiked like almost double what they were. And you're right, it's a lack of socialization that they're seeing, and that's why it's quite scary. And you think of that from that age group, they're already at risk. You know,
Right.
the older adults are already at risk of depression mainly. But now, you know, with everything that's going on, and think of the that homes that were full of COVID, you know, I mean, full of
Right,
COVID,
right.
and how, so the fear and the anxiety that they might, if they're still cognizant enough, that they're living under, just being in those facilities at this point could be
That's
amazing.
right. The nursing homes. Remember with the nursing home here in Riverside, was it Magnolia? I don't want to give the wrong name on the air, but they actually had to send those loved ones Huntington Beach, Orange County, Loma Linda, where they could find places for these people because the nurses, unbeknownst to the nurses, were carrying it. If you're part-time at a nursing home and your next job, it starts in 45 minutes. So you grab a burger and you keep going, but you have on the same scrubs, the same clothing. You haven't had time to take a bath or change clothes, and you bring that into the next nursing home. That cross contamination is what they found out very early. And what they had to do was actually do some high level sterilization of all of these homes and begin to monitor them because seniors were dying needlessly. And here's the caveat: they hadn't seen their loved ones in a while. They're already in a nursing home, and maybe son or daughter lives out of town. Even if they lived in LA, coming to Riverside, you need to take a lunch. You need
It's
to bring a
like a
lunch.
crisis always exposes our most vulnerable populations or vulnerable issues. You know, if it's an education crisis, we may not really know until we see the high numbers of kids in disciplinary, you know, places. And so it's like what I'm hearing is basically the seniors are the ones who are vulnerable, and it's exposing what's going on so much more than it is with younger age people who are transmitting or getting this virus.
Yeah, and we're seeing more young people get it and affect their households because they're working. You know, I would say that Chipotle will say, "Oh, I'm pretty good because my average age for my worker is 18, 19, and 20." But you don't know where that kid goes after he leaves Chipotle or Chick-fil-A or wherever. And that kid may bring that virus, a touch of that virus to work. The
That's
manager is older. Maybe the manager is older, or a customer may come in. I consider children carriers more than I do them as a risk of
little
getting.
pests, no, little roaches. No, my daughter, just to bring that up, she got a job at Wingstop about a month ago, and right now I think it's been 3 employees that have got COVID, that have,
That's
you
a
know, been
lot.
there and got COVID. So we had a talk. She came to me, 20-year-old, and she said, "Mom, I'm not comfortable." You know, I mean, we know we're talking about money, you know, but she's like, I've got to find another way. She said, and she has asthma. So she's quitting because it's too much of a chance that she could get something from those people. And in a small company like that, you know, distancing is hard. You know,
Right.
you're all behind that counter, you know, and you're trying to do things. But I mean, for us, how do we deal with that? I mean, I need these kids to get money and, you know, to
It's like we're
grow,
having to pick the
right?
lesser of two evils. You know, I work with a family now where, you know, one of the young kids has contracted it, and of course the parents now have to report that to their
Mm-hmm.
employer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the parents has a job that will pay for them to sit out, and the other one will not. And you know, kudos to that one for being honest
Right.
and going to their job, because how many you're saying, I'm just not going to say anything, and then they go infect an entire, you know, floor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just really putting people between a rock and a hard place. It's making them have to make really difficult choices with their own health and their own well-being, as well as their financial situation. And so in your daughter's case, you know, she may have some support, she may be able to, and you know, but when we're talking about people who are leading households, this is a mess. And we've kind of created a catch-22 here where we're just going
Right.
to keep seeing it spread, because like you were saying earlier, if we got to work, we're going to do whatever we got to do to be able to work. And for some
Mm-hmm.
people, that means lie about, you know, symptoms. That means pop a cough drop or what, you know, whatever they might do to try to mask it.
That's right.
And, you know,
Yes.
what you were saying earlier also, Joyce, that's what I'm reading as well, is that we're seeing a lot of our frontline workers be impacted more. A lot of our nurses are contracting it a lot more.
Right.
And I think
Right.
that's twofold. I think it's one, because it's just rampant, and
Mm-hmm.
two, because we did get a little lax. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone got a little bit lax, and in their field, lax isn't is pretty dangerous.
Right.
So
Right.
we're seeing them, and so it's kind of like, well, now what? And I'm hearing, I think a lot of them are maybe working with people who are already
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with COVID, so that they're not spreading it to new people. But I'm just kind of interested in how that's all going to work out.
When
So,
my
ladies,
girlfriend,
this all
let me,
back to one place, because goodness, we have vulnerable youth, we have vulnerable seniors, cross contamination inside of households, communities, even among enemies. What allows our community to achieve a greater good? What does the greater good even look like for us to move toward in the middle of this incredible surge we're enduring?
else, and to be a good neighbor. We're not happy about wearing masks. Nobody is. Nobody's happy about distancing. But if we are obedient in the short run, we can get back to some kind of normalcy in the long run. But we have to be concerned about others, not just ourselves and our immediate gratification. To me, that's the greater good in this season, in this season.
And I'm gonna go the existential therapy route and say it's just cherishing, right? It's cherishing every moment you've had, every freedom that you have had. I've got a kiddo that's a senior in high school, and who would want this to be their senior year?
Right.
But it's cherishing the moments that you did have. It's cherishing the just all the great things that have occurred in life. Cherishing if you do have your health about you, if you do have your sanity, if you do have some connections and some relationships that are important to you. It's really just going back to those, letting those be your feeding and your nourishment for you mentally and spiritually. And to me, that's the win. That's the win right now, because we don't know. And when you don't know, if you hinge it on what you wish and then that doesn't come through, you're going to be extremely discouraged, extremely depressed. So if you just take what you have, if you look at the here and now, what you do have, what you have experienced, that's the takeaway for me.
That's good. Good.
I'm gonna say look toward the future. A lot of times we see that we always look back. We just continue to look back, and I don't think there is a going back. So I'm gonna say let's see what we can find now that we can move forward with, right? The positiveness in what we're doing now, which there is so much. We just sat here and bagged on this whole thing, but it brought us together. It bring more people are connecting literally virtually than ever we were connecting before. There are some major awesome things that have come out of this that we should look at, the beauty of where we are and how can we survive harmoniously going forward. I think, right now it's given us an opportunity to look at social justice. It's given us an opportunity to think of equality in a way we never in this country thought of it before. So I think, how do we move these new things that we're gaining and build on those?
So there you have it. One huge problem, and at least three well thought out approaches to it. And I think at the end of the day, goodness, the virus will have its way. The virus will dictate to us. But what we do have the ability to do is to use our best thinking to look at where the greater good is, to impact our communities and make good decisions for us all. We're in it together, so let's behave accordingly.
Amen.
Wow. I'm tired. I want to say thank you again to Joyce Clarke, Tamika Carter, and Shor Denny. Tips IE. If you liked anything you heard, please put it in the comments. If you disagree with anything you heard, put that in the comments too. I like a good argument. Most importantly, as we go out and we deal with this surge and we're interacting with our loved ones and we're recognizing holidays and we're trying to find normalcy in the insanity, I can't urge you enough. And I will urge you again, be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias con mucho.